Sneaking up on 718, sneaking up on the guns in the 701, because if you don't sneak, they're going to have the advantage. They already know you're there. Just saying.
That's a fact.
How are you guys this morning?
Good. How you doing, Todd?
Hey, doing fantastic. All ready for Christmas, and we got 10 days here. Come on now.
I don't know. I subcontract that out. My wife took care of that.
So your wife's buying her own present then, or how's this work?
No, I do that one.
Okay. And do you have that done?
I got a few to buy.
I do. It's been done for about a month already. So.
Oh, look at you, a step ahead of the game. All right.
You know me. I'm always prepared.
Well, these guys, in addition to being great Christmas shoppers, are strong Second Amendment guys. And check this story out. A food truck owner uses a gun to stop an armed man menacing motorists.
I know. I mean, isn't that fine? And of all places, in Maine, not exactly the most pro-gun state in the country. He has
but they're also very pro-stopping crime, I bet.
Oh, but it kind of looks like it. At least this guy is. I mean, he has Addie's food truck. David, I think it's Poto is how you pronounce his name, but he was setting up. They were doing kind of like a lot of us do, kind of a Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and they have basically they call it Holly Days. It's their big parade. I mean, we see that all over in towns just right here in North and South Dakota. So he was heading over there, and all of a sudden this guy kind of jumps up and is kind of terrorizing, I guess, for lack of a better term, people that are kind of going by, the motorists, and just causing problems. But he's holding a knife, basically, and that is a threat. To me, that's an armed person as well. And so he went over to the scene, confronted the guy, and as you can imagine, the guy didn't take it well. Instead of backing off, he threatened to kill Mr. Poto. Well, that probably wasn't the smartest thing. He said, "I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to stab you." And, of course, the guy didn't know that Mr. Poto's an armed American. He's a patriot. So he didn't want to escalate the situation, tried to get him to leave, tried to get him to calm down, and then the guy threatened his family. So he drew his firearm. He said that didn't work either. He felt his life was in danger, so he shot and killed the knife-wielding man.
Oof,
and,
man.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, I mean, somebody's killing somebody, it sounds like, in that case, so
yeah, I mean,
the good guy win.
Your life. Yeah, you got to have a good guy with a gun there. And, I like how the guy said, he goes, you never anticipate dealing with danger in a certain way, but you never know how you're going to react to it either and how it would play out until you actually live it. And it all happened so fast, and it was like in slow motion at the time. I can relate to that. I've had to pull my concealed firearm 3 times in my life. And luckily, I never had to actually follow through with that. That took care of the threat that was coming at me. But I can tell you right now, it is. It's like time slows down and goes into slow motion. And you never know if you're going to be able to do it. I can. I don't know how many people can do it. And when I was doing, talking to people about this and they're getting their concealed weapons, it's like, make sure that you're willing. Otherwise, it's not good. And you need to actually be familiar. So, yeah, it was an interesting thing. You got anything you want to add to that, Jamie?
Well, that's what I call a happy ending right there, Clayton.
I think when I said you that, I think this is a great happy ending story.
For people who don't understand the whole importance, I mean, if you have a gun-wielding maniac come in and nobody's armed, then he gets to shoot as long as he wants. If somebody can take him out, you never want to be in that situation, right? In a perfect world, nobody ever shoots anybody, but as long as you got to defend yourself against the gun-wielding maniac, the sooner he can be taken out, the fewer people get shot. So
absolutely, it's all about the self-defense and taking care of the situation, and that's where we've seen these mass shootings, I hate using that term, but that happens because a good person didn't step up, or maybe a good person was prevented from stepping up for, crazy county, city, or state laws. And it just proves once again that a good guy with a gun can stop the situation. And I'm proud of the guy. We'll see I'm going to kind of follow up on this and see what the police department does if they charge him. They didn't say anything about it, but they also did not acknowledged that the guy was a patriot and saved a lot of people. And when they put it on their Facebook page, a lot of people took issue with it as well and said, hey, how come they didn't notify the public that a knife attack was prevented by a brave Sanford citizen acting in self-defense?
Exactly.
That would be an appropriate title.
The guilty charge may be firing a gun in city limits if they have that kind of law, but that's a drop in the bucket for what they, could potentially charge them with. So, just to shut up the people that are critical of it, it's like, all right, fine. Because he did do that with great reason, but there you have it.
I think they should give the guy. They should make that guy part of their Christmas parade and make him a local hero. Not only did he take out some crazy nut who wanted to stab and kill people.
You know what? If I were on the radio up there, I'd get my red convertible out and I'd do the parade, even if it was just me. Although I suspect that I would be inviting everybody to come and bring flags, and I suspect a whole line of flags, big flags behind pickups, whatever it would be behind me. But have him sitting up on the trunk of the convertible there, waving at everybody, and
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
But because I'm in Bismarck, North Dakota, and I don't have the time to drive to Maine, I'm gonna have to pass on that deal. 824 K-Fire with Guns in the 701. So Biden is pushing an assault weapons ban after the UNLV handgun attack. I'm surprised he's not pushing for a handgun ban.
Well, Todd, actually, I'll say this. Joe Biden has said no one is coming for your guns, but Biden has also said whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle is ridiculous. I'm going to continue to push to eliminate the sale of those things. So don't kid yourself. Joe Biden wants your pistol. He wants your rifle. He, in fact, would even want your double-barrel shotgun, which he himself owns. So he's after all of them. But going to this Vegas shooting, he released a statement, like you said, calling for an assault weapons ban, following, like most people have heard about. We went pretty quiet, and I'll tell you why. The University of Nevada, Las Vegas handgun attack. So when Biden released his statement, facts about the UNLV murders, including the description of this guy, the type of gun he used, they weren't even known, but yet he comes out pushing for an assault weapons ban. And the guy who did it was a 67-year-old man named Anthony Polito. He did use a handgun. It was a Beretta 92. I looked it up. 10-round magazines. He had 11 magazines on him. 10 rounds. They always want 10 rounds. 10 rounds. You can only have 10 rounds. Well, that's what he had. And he still ended up killing 3 people and critically wounding 1. And Biden comes out with this statement that reads as, for all the action we've taken since I've been president, which includes, I'm adding this in now, that turning the ATF into attack dogs, and of course, the Unsafe Communities Act, right, Clayton, which President Biden says is the most significant Second Amendment infringement in 30 years. Yeah, but guess what? It didn't work, did it, Joe? Because murders and mass shootings are still up even after your most significant infringement of our rights. And Biden goes on, the epidemic of gun violence we face demands that, here we go, Clayton, we always love this one, right? We do even more because it's never enough for these leftists, no matter what law you pass to infringe upon your Second Amendment civil rights, they always want more. We cannot do more without Congress. And here he goes blaming our
human inch will take a mile, too, so be careful with what you even propose there and what gets proposed.
Right.
And don't, I realize that sometimes you want to have compromise. Sometimes that is true. This isn't one of those cases, though. You cave on this, it's going to be a scary slope.
Some Republicans did cave on the Unsafe Communities Act, and here's Joe wanting more. Of course, he wants an assault weapons ban, high-capacity magazine ban, which I told you this guy used 10-round magazines, which they always want. Mm-hmm. Red flag laws, there was nothing in this guy's history because guess what, Todd? They want to enact universal background checks, and yet again, another mass murder passed a background check. They want you to safe storage and other what they call common sense laws. Everything they want wouldn't have stopped this guy, and it wouldn't stop almost every single one of these other guys. Because their ultimate goal, and Clayton will agree, is to take all your guns. It's not about stopping any kind of violence. Otherwise, they'd go into Chicago with the National Guard, and then that mass killing that happens there every day.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good point. North Dakota's biggest protectors of the Second Amendment, Guns in the 701. We got more coming up with them. Just stand by, guys. It is 8:27. 842 at K-Fire. Todd Mitchell, Jesse Roswell, by the way, in Minnesota, resting up after the Bemidji State U-Mary game last night. Guns in the 701, because once they ban all the guns, it'll move on to rocks and hammers and
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Well, you give an inch, they take a mile, right? Controversial BLM proposal would increase protections for the world's longest mule deer migration corridor.
Yeah, BLM, Bureau of Land, I call it mismanagement, but they call themselves Bureau of Land Management. But
the irony there, yeah.
And they just love having those abbreviations. So, yeah, they're going to designate it under a thing. It's a third of what they call the Rock Desert migration corridor. I've actually been out there around that Riverton area and Rock Springs and all through there. I guess it's more towards Rock Springs. And, I mean, I know exactly the area they're talking about, but it's called Area of Critical Environmental Concern. Of course, they have to give it the abbreviation of AC. EC. Government never speaks in plain English because they don't want you to know what's going on. But anyway, this corridor, it's a good corridor, and that's where a lot of mule deer migrate through. And what they're claiming is that they got one deer out there, evidently, that they've got a collar on, and it's the farthest migrating muley on record. One deer, number 255, goes about 90 miles further than anybody else. Well, the whole corridor is only 150. So what I really would like to know, what about the other deer they have in there that are collared? Are they going 20 miles, 30 miles? Do we need to have such a restrictive plan on the entire 150 for one deer? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things missing in this article. And I couldn't find it, honestly. I hopped on the websites trying to find it. In fact, one website, they don't even want you to let you read it unless you subscribe to it. But the Rock Springs Field Office draft resource management plan, it's been evidently, like any of these other things that come out with the publicly held land by the taxpayers. Last update was 1997. We saw something similar down here on the national grasslands in my area with the prairie dogs. Oh, they're all going to go extinct. We had to have this management plan. I mean, you should have seen that thing. And that was a big battle. We did eventually win it. They do some things and litigate on the actual grasslands, but it's not going to extend as of now, into the private property. I mean, they were talking buffers. So I can see where the people are very concerned out here in Wyoming, because you can see the same thing right here in North Dakota or South Dakota. It doesn't just affect that land. Generally, it's the buffer zones around it. And if that crosses private land, we have an issue. And especially when they put it under this area of critical environment concern, that even takes it to a new level. So it's an interesting article. I was kind of shocked to see that the Teddy Roosevelt Conservation Partnership, they're not exactly with us as far as conservatives and what we need to do, but even they're not really, they didn't come out and say they were against it, but they didn't ask for this. So they're actually kind of looking into it, kind of wondering what they're going to do. They didn't advocate for that ACEC deal designation. So we'll see how far they go. But even what I would call environmental, they lead to the environmentalist attitude. Even they're not really for it, because it's really going to impact what you can do with oil and gas production out in that area. And as we all know, just like North Dakota, Wyoming is huge on oil, gas, and coal. I mean, it's their bread and butter. So there's some big concerns with this. They got till January 17th to make a public statement on it and make your comments. I imagine you go to the BLM. That should be under Department of Interior. Find BLM, and you should be able to find the draft resource management plan for this particular area, which is the Red Desert to Hobach, I believe, migration corridor. That's what I'm thinking it's going to be.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say this Matt Kaufman, he's a wildlife biologist with the U.S. Geological Survey.
Mm-hmm.
He says, it's effective. Limiting this energy development is the reason they want to do that, according to him, is because it's known to delay and disrupt mule deer migrations. Wow. I mean, deer are like anything else. They'll adapt and go a different route, would be my opinion on that. He claims for a long time, they've known about these kinds of migrations, but I don't know if Clay hit on this, but the advent of GPS 20 years ago is how they found out, how this deer 255 or whatever, like Clay was talking about, how they tracked him, and this is one of the reasons they're doing it now. And he goes on, these animal they got like these migrations or type of an animal culture, which I'd actually agree with them on this. Like the mama doe learns it when she's young, the areas they go in, and then it's passed on to the offspring. I believe that happens on our land by Golden Valley too. It's kind of a breeding area for them. But you know what? It's like I said, deer are going to adapt like anything else adapts. So I don't know. I don't live in Wyoming, so I don't know that much about it. But I do know I'm not a big fan of BLM. And another thing, Clay, that would bug me: the BLM's over 1,300 page proposal. I mean, that makes me a critic of it right away. 1,300 freaking pages.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous.
I've hunted a lot out in Wyoming back, in my younger days. I watched mule deer and antelope both sitting by oil rigs and oil pumps. I mean, it didn't seem like it bothered them at all. And then they are noisy. I don't know if you've ever been out in them oil fields. They're kind of noisy, but it doesn't bother them in the least. And then down there around that Gillette area where the mines are, we were hunting in that country for antelope. All them big rigs and all that noise coming out of the mine didn't bother them animals at all. They adapted to it.
Ask the guys who work at the mines up in Beulah and Center, and they'll tell you there's mule deer everywhere around there. There's big trucks driving in. I got friends who work there. They've sent me pictures of giant mule deer that are in there. So I'm not so sure I believe what they're pushing there.
I'm sure there's.
You're trying to tell me animals can adapt?
Imagine that.
Oh my God! They'll never let you get away with that theory.
We could take the leftist idea of their own theory of Darwin and say, oh, you mean you're saying they can't evolve? Because that's what they all believe. I don't believe in it, but that's their own theory, evolution, so they should evolve and adapt to it.
If they can evolve, they can adapt because it's kind of one and the same in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Different sides of the same coin.
Oh,
that's the problem. Guns in the 701 here on K-Fire. Debate erupting over the closure of the Remington plant. What's going on there?
Yeah, so Rem Arms, which now makes Remington firearms, they shut down their New York plant in Ilion, New York. They've been there for more than 2 centuries. But like you said, Todd, there's a debate over just why Rem Arms is moving, and they're completely moving it. New York's Republican leaders in the House there, Elise Stefanik, which she's a pretty good conservative actually, and State Senator Mark, I think his name's Walczyk. They both represent they call it the village of Ilion, I guess. I don't know. A village to me is small. I'm sure it's a city probably bigger than Bismarck, but they blame New York's unconstitutional gun grab policies for the company's closure of the plant, which, hey, I couldn't agree with them more. There's actually been 17 gun manufacturers and gun-related companies over the last, probably 5-6 years that have moved to more Second Amendment-friendly states. And name a few. Clay and I have talked about this. The Smith & Wesson moved from Massachusetts to Tennessee. You can't get any bigger than that. And Stag Arms, which I own a Stag AR, a couple of them. They're awesome AR-15s.
Good
firearms. They went from Connecticut to Wyoming. And Magpul they don't make guns, but one of the biggest accessory companies for firearms. They went from Colorado to Wyoming. But the union there, the union, they don't really believe that. Remington made a statement and said they're excited about expanding their facility to Georgia, a state that welcomes businesses, enthusiastically supports the firearm industry, which they do. Georgia is awesome for that. But the union, the United Mine Workers of America, who represented the Ilion, there are hundreds of workers there, disagree that blame for the closure of the plant rests with the state's gun laws. And they put out a statement here. Aaron Bates, the union spokesman, said, it's not our understanding or our belief whatsoever that this has anything to do with the laws. They're obviously moving to a very non-union state. Georgia is a non-union. You can join a union there. You're just not forced to do it like the unions want you to do, so they can suck up your money and, in turn, give that money to anti-Second Amendment Democrats, which go ahead and look up who the United Mine Workers have backed. And most of them have been Democrats, and Democrats are always pushing Second Amendment prohibition. So in other words, the United Mine Workers has a long history of favoring the very candidates that would put many of their workers in the gun industry out of a job.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's basically why they cited that. I went and looked at their list. It was horrible as far as the people they were supporting in Pennsylvania. Big coal and oil as well. So yeah, it's all Democrats mostly. But before we move on, though, I think you kind of got a little announcement, don't you, Jamie?
Yeah. I got two more live streams on Guns in the 701 and 2 more appearances here on Mitchell in the Morning, and I'm moving on. And Clayton's taking over and taking Guns in the 701. He's taking it over.
Yeah, and
not
you're not caving to the anti-Second Amendment crowd, are you?
No.
I'm sorry. All right, I'll quit.
Yeah, nothing Clay and I disagreed on. We're friends. It has nothing to do with that. Yeah, Mom's demand confiscation didn't chase me off or any other.
He's going to take his guns and hide, everybody, so just let him be, all right?
Yeah.
He's going to be like the next Art Bell. He's going to hide in some weird place in some weird thing, and we won't know. But then
hide in my basement here, Todd.
Exactly.
Jamie's going to be in there guest hosting once in a great while. He said he'd come on with us once in a while, which is great. So Jamie's still with us. He still believes what we're doing. There was no big fight or anything.
100%.
We're still great friends, and he just needed a break. And who knows? Maybe someday, maybe he'll come back full time. But hey, it's been a great ride, buddy.
Absolutely, and I have no doubt. Todd, you and Clay on here on Fridays, and Clay doing the live stream and everything else. Guns in the 701 is going to keep rocking as it should, because it's good information and people need to hear it. And I'm proud to say I was part of somebody who got it going.
You're not burning your Guns in the 701 hat or anything, then, is what you're saying, right?
Oh, no, I'll be repping the brand. Don't kid yourself. I'll be repping the gear.
The store will still go on, but you do have the only one with the rock on it. So you do have the collection item.
Guns in the 701 here on K-Fire, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks, you too, Todd. We'll talk to you next Friday.
All right.